The Masculine Mongoose, Part 1.
Literally, everyone knows that Bruce Kent is the masculine mongoose,
said the woman sitting across from me in our candlelit dinner.
The superheroes know it, the villains know it, the guy on the street knows it, uncontacted tribes in the Amazon know it. The Inquirer doesn't break the mask code when they print your picture because they don't even bother mentioning who you are. If I need to have conversations with you pretending not to know that Bruce is the goose, we're going to be the only two people on the planet pretending that.
My expectations for this date's viability were starting to sink. She was saying intelligent things, and saying them with remarkable confidence and self-possession for somebody who thought she was talking to the masculine mongoose himself. It was impressing me, and more than slightly turning me on. But the conversation had taken a turn I'd been down before, and not a promising one.
"I don't want to get into a relationship under false pretenses," I said.
Yeah,
she said.
Like if I slept with you under the impression that you were just an ordinary playboy millionaire instead of a superhero.
She sipped from her champagne glass, visibly trying not to smile.
"Look," I
said, trying to make my voice as persuasive as I could.
"Just like you say, everyone knows that Bruce Kent is the masculine mongoose. People have believed that for 8 years. And in all that time, nobody has ever managed to prove anything. Never mind suggestive evidence, nobody has ever shown it for certain. Shouldn't that give you pause?"
About dating such a tricky bastard, you mean? You know, I'd read before about how Bruce Kent is strictly keeping up his regime of denial, but it still feels odd to experience in person.
I held up one hand.
Okay, but just imagine for a moment the world in which it turns out that I'm not the masculine mongoose. You never get to drive the goosemobile. However good you imagine the mongoose is in bed, I'm only as good as a millionaire playboy instead. An above-average millionaire playboy, if I say so myself, but nothing superhuman. You think I might be the masculine mongoose, but you never get the sign of trust where I open up and tell you about it, because in this hypothetical world, I'm not him. All you get out of the relationship is a millionaire playboy who works out daily. Imagine that world, and tell me what it feels like if, after we've been together for a year, you see the masculine mongoose on live television while I'm sitting next to you, and you realize it was never me after all. You realize that although I'm a decent ordinary person and I've donated to a good cause here and there, this man never did save the city of Shanghai.
She studied me through half-narrowed eyes, the plates and dishes before us ignored.
But in this hypothetical world, everyone else still believes you're the masculine mongoose, yes?
Yes,
I said.
So the villains all think I'm a meta's mistress, but in fact I don't have any meta around to defend me.
Yes,
I said, starting to hope.
So the next time some villain goes mad and breaks the mask code, they might kidnap me,
she said and paused.
Like what happened to your ex-girlfriend Selena Lane, who was rescued by the masculine mongoose 14 minutes and 28 seconds later.
The hope sank.
Obviously, the masculine mongoose knows people believe I'm him,
I said.
He feels responsible when villains target someone I'm in a relationship with.
Again, she studied me through narrowed eyes, longer this time. She finally shook her head.
Look,
she said.
If I was a less honest woman, I'd pretend that I didn't understand what you were trying to do, so I could seem to give the right answers. I get it. You don't want to be with a woman who's chasing the mask. You think that what people believe about the masculine mongoose isn't the true you. You want to know if I'm interested in the real Bruce Kent. I'll assume your fellow superheroes have already told you all the obvious platitudes about how Bruce and the goose are both you. If you say that doesn't apply, I'll do you the respect of realizing that I don't know your real life or the real story well enough to argue. I'm fine with forgetting what I think I know and trying to discover the true you, but I'm not going to lie and say that I'm the only person on Earth who doesn't know you're the masculine mongoose. And it would be a sad pass at dishonesty, one I wouldn't expect to fool you, if I claimed that you defeating Maiden Apocalypse has nothing to do with why I flirted with Bruce Kent.
My godforsaken watch picked that exact moment to vibrate 3 times on my wrist. That exact moment. I tried to think of an excuse, and then I gave up. There wasn't reason to bother.
I suddenly have to leave this date,
I said.
Sorry.
She snickered.
I understand completely. It will be a total coincidence that the masculine mongoose shows up at some crisis in another few minutes.
I didn't say anything, just stood up from the table.
Hey,
She called to me as I was leaving.
don't penalize me for being honest, please.
I really have to go,
I said as I hurried out the door.
It's kind of urgent.
I understand.
I'd be lying if I said that Bruce Kent had never used that excuse just to get out of an awkward conversation. But it wasn't one of those times. Minutes later, the masculine mongoose was fighting the bionic bandit. And I was inside a very, very heavily sealed room where no known power of Earth or space could have proven that Bruce Kent was in there. I've wished many times that I could tell the mongoose it was over. For multiple reasons, but mostly because of conversations like the one I'd just had with a woman I'd found impressive as well as attractive. There might be people who enjoy dancing that dance, but I'm not one of them. I couldn't go on being a millionaire playboy without the mongoose's money. But I've saved up enough that I wouldn't need to go back to work. And he's definitely not the kind to kill me to tie up loose ends. Because behind that mask, the masculine mongoose is a good person, a nice person, the kind to make a lot of friends and care about them deeply. The day he suddenly got his meta powers, he already had a spouse and 3 kids, on top of a brother and 2 sisters and 16 nephews and nieces. It wasn't a secret who his friends were either. There was no way in hell or heaven that even the masculine mongoose could protect them all. Hiding his identity wasn't enough. People needed to stop looking. I've met his family. They're good people too. I don't want them to die, and that's leaving aside how the masculine mongoose does save the world now and then, and how ripping out and shredding his heart might not be good for our collective life expectancy. Wondering if Bruce Kent was one of those good friends of the goose back in the day? He wasn't. He's not even from the same country. Bruce Kent was just some random guy whose life the masculine mongoose saved, early on. Very early on, when the goose was less experienced and gave away his own identity in the process. And yes, I volunteered for this, to make sure it didn't happen again. My parents had died before giving me any siblings, so I didn't have family of my own to worry about. If not me, then who? I'll admit it, as the masculine mongoose's reputation hit the skies and kept going up, as the eyes on me went from adoring to worshipful, I started to get the complex you'd expect about being a fake hero. The goose, who really is that smart and that wise, told me something I should have realized myself. My job puts me through a lot of inconvenience. It cuts me off from other people, hampers my relationships despite my best efforts. There's compensations too, like being a millionaire playboy, but it's a moot point whether those niceties make up for the agonizing conversations. The job benefits aren't why I stay on the job. The masculine mongoose told me that, and then he clapped me on the shoulder and asked me if I thought it was any different for him. He has his job protecting the innocent. I have mine.